Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kody with Up to Code.
And I'm Camille.
We're on video 5 of 10 of our drywall series. Today we're going to show Camille and you folks at home how to install beads. One thing I forgot to mention from video 4 is we actually did pretty fair. We didn't actually get that muddy, did we?
No.
And the floor wasn't that messy.
No, it was actually pretty good. Yeah.
And you had a big challenge putting the angles and the tapes on the angles, but you fared pretty well and you got the hang of it. So.
I think it was the mudding more than the taping.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't get too muddy, so it was good. All right. First of all, before beads, let's explain a few of the different types of beads. There's way more that there's available that we have right now. Okay, so Camille, since you've never done this before, here is a standard outside corner, just a corner bead. So all it is a piece of metal with paper over top, and then the paper just helps adhere when we apply the taping mud. So these are good for just a simple 90-degree outside corner. The outside is dimpled a little, basically got a little dimple outward. Basically creates a high spot. So that's the highest spot of the corner bead. And then when you coat it, your trowel always rides on here. Okay. And then the rest gets filled. So those are standard. Now when we're setting these 90s, keep in mind if you're doing a round corner, the only difference there is the way they install the drywall. They just keep the drywall back a little bit, but the actual application of the bead is the same. So whether it's round or square, it's same method for install. Okay. So folks at home, keep that in mind. Now we have those two offset corners. One's an inside 45, which this one we would use. Maybe. I have a different type that we're actually going to try today. So this is an inside offset angle, standard metal with paper. This would be an outside 45. Okay, but we're actually going to use what more of the pros use. Now, as to what corner bead is to use, that's a different whole other ball game because you'd have to be a professional, you'd have to use them all. It's a whole other video on its own. So today we're actually going to install this no coat on the inside 45 and the outside 45. Here's the box right here. And what's nice about this product is the way it's beveled on the inside. It's basically ultra strong tape. I can change the angle, so if I don't have a true 45, I can just cinch it a little tighter. It acts more like tape and less of a bead, so I don't need to coat it as wide as we do with these. Okay. And you'll see that as we go. And then if I want to use it on an outside angle, I just spin it around, and it's got the same kind of outie dimple we can use for an outside angle. Yeah. And I haven't used these for a very, very long time. So it's a learning curve for me too. So that's that. One thing I've set the display up we haven't talked about yet. This is Tearaway. And let's show you what I mean over here. It'll make more sense. Now, use your imagination. This is not drywall. This is a nice finished wood wall. Something that you want to build a wall up against. But this is a different material and you don't want to actually put an inside angle tape on. You want to just end the drywall so it looks finished, but you also don't want to get mud or any other, you don't want to mark up this wall at all. It's a nice wood wall. So this Tearaway, and we'll show you when we go to install these are a little bit different application because it's vinyl. We'll actually use a contact cement to adhere it. But when you're boarding, you leave about an 1/8 inch gap. We'll contact cement this and we'll just push it tight up against our finished wood wall. With the contact cement, it's immediately adhered. And then if you look here, this little lip right there is where our putty knife rides on. And then later, this is called the Tearaway because this gets torn off after the fact. So you can tear it off after you're done sanding, or you can tear it off after you're done painting. So let's just quick. This is where my putty knife rides on. I give it a nice coat. I don't get mud on my wall because this little tab protects it. I don't have to tape or anything. And then it's up to you when you tear that tab off later. This is awesome stuff. It's good for against a wall, like I said, or you can use it against commercial windows where you need to do a drywall return against something. It's just a nice clean look. Anyway, enough of that. And you can see the inside 45 and the outside 45 that we were talking about earlier. And then last one, Camille, if we were doing some archways, it'd be pretty sweet. This bead is awesome for that. I just peel that one side off. Then I can just mud that. Same method as we're using the normal 90 degrees, exact same installation, but you can arch that.
And only rip off the one side, not both?
Right. Yeah, because if you rip off both, then this isn't straight anymore, then it's floppy. But yeah, if you just rip that, you can create an archway. And it's super simple, right?
Yeah, you made that look super simple.
I didn't, these guys, Straight Flex made it look simple. They invented it. Okay, let's just spin up our mud, make sure it's been a day, make sure it's the right consistency. We'll do that really, really quick, make sure, and then we'll get into doing the application. Clean up my mashed potatoes. That's nice consistency.
You don't like walking around the whole bucket?
Yeah, you gotta go like this. See how I make less of a mess by just kind of dipping it out of the middle and not, it doesn't really matter. But here's the plan of action. I'll show you the application. I'll do this top corner bead. I'll put a splice in it to show the folks at home. Complicated a little bit. Once I get it set, then you'll have the info, and then you'll set this one by yourself.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna put this one on.
And then the other corner one just butts up to it?
Yeah. Okay, you need to clean that cut up. Looks like a beaver hacked at that with your teeth. Sometimes when you cut, Camille, the tin snips will bend the metal out. So if I cut it, I'll just kind of bend it in just a hair so it doesn't flare out. Just make sure it tucks tight into this corner.
Who knew there was this much work before actually painting your walls?
It's not the truth.
It really is quite a bit.
It is. And this part is...
Oh, exactly 2 feet. Look at you
Look
cutting
at
like
that.
a master.
Nice. Didn't even plan that. And this part is... Because everyone just wants to just get coating, because coating is fun, right? So we're really close. 2 feet.
That's what Joel said my favorite would be.
Oh, he did?
Just the second and third coats, and then after that, you know you're done.
You know you're done. And then it's the dreadful sanding.
Yeah.
Same thing with beads as tapes. If you don't have enough mud in behind there, you can get air pockets, and you'll notice the air pockets upon your first coat of mud. And application again is always tricky. I'll just load the front and I'll just wipe sideways. It can get a little messy. Now this is when you're doing your inspection stage, you got to make sure that this drywall isn't proud. Otherwise you have to rasp it off nice and square. And another thing to keep in mind, if this is cut too short, if it's way too short, you can always confill and make a nice sharp corner as well. Keep that in mind. Now, this might be a little tricky. Basically, you just got to slap the stuff on there. Who cares what it looks like at this point? If you want to just slap it on like that, feel free. Doesn't matter how it gets on there. as long as before you put the tapes on, or I mean the bead, that it's relatively the same consistency and thickness all the way through. This mud is pretty fluid today, but what's good is it'll flow and roll in behind those beads real nice. I'm gonna pick up the pace. All right, so now that I got my mud on there, just gonna get it, I want it a little bit thicker than I would for tapes. Just a nice consistency. Just wipe it real light. Gonna need a little more on this underside. Just load it right up on that front edge. Again, I think this is similar to angles. Just getting the mud on there is kind of the hardest part. You can always go like that if you need to get it applied to a corner. Doesn't have to be perfect yet. I just need to get the mud on there. Camille, remember how full my pan was?
Yes.
Yeah, it's getting empty. And also note, I'll just take a wipe and I'll load the front of my knife and then I'll go into the corner. So my corners have mud in them. Okay, now's the time to just fine tune the consistency of it.
So a bead is pretty much any open angle
Yeah, like...
or any open surface kind of.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Edge, any open edge. There we
Yeah.
go.
Okay, you see it's way thicker than the tapes. Doesn't have to be as consistent as the tapes, but it's,
And you can be all droopy like that?
yep.
Okay.
Especially when the mud's fluid. If it was thicker, you'd probably have to be a little more careful. Same with the tapes. If it's thicker mud, you gotta be more careful
Okay.
because it's harder to roll it out. But when it's fluid like this, it'll roll out from behind the tapes pretty good. Or the beads. Come on, Kode, you gotta get the beads. Okay. So just, I'm gonna put it on for now. And then I'm just gonna squish it on and you can kind of tell when it's sitting square. Doesn't have to be perfect yet. Just kind of roll it back and forth. Then what I like to do, this is just me, I like to just press on that metal part and I just squeeze that to try to get some of that mud out of that. All that droopy mud, we got to get it out of there. It's a bit of a process, but with the mud being fairly fluid, you do have some time. So same thing, I kind of roll it back and forth just to make sure it's square. Then I just press that corner metal back and forth. Okay, time to clean your pan up. I'll I'll show you the beginner way, how I learned to do the beads. And then as I got better with my knife, I could speed it up. Essentially what I'm gonna do is at the start, middle, and end, just gonna wipe the mud out from the bead that way. Then this is where the critical part comes in. You just gotta make sure you have daylight from here to here. So your knife rides here and it hits drywall there, gap in the middle, and you need the same thing on both sides. And then you can gauge how to roll that bead. If you have tons of light here and none here, you just roll it down. So I might just roll it down, double check. I have light on both sides. I'm happy. I feel like it's a happy medium. Then I'm gonna move back. And basically once I get it to a point where I know that in 2 or 3 spots, it's square with the world, then I can finish my wiping. Okay, so I kind of cinch it, lock it into place. I have daylight there. I have daylight there. Let's lock down this joint. With smaller pieces of bead, they'll move around on you more. Just be mindful of that. Again, check for daylight. Check for daylight. Adjust if you need. On the joint, I have to adjust both the same so the corners are flush. And then here, again, find out if your position's good. Have daylight there and some there.
And what if you don't have daylight?
Either. Okay, good question. Camille had a good point. If you don't have daylight in here, there could be a chance that you have too much mud and it's actually bulging the metal outward. So that's definitely a good point. And like I said before, if it's offside, if one side has lots of daylight, like if it's like this, well, let's just show you. If it's rolled over like this, notice how I'm touching in the middle. I'm touching here, but not on the corner. And up here, I got way too much daylight. So I need to roll that back down. Just give it a wipe light. A light wipe. Double check. See, now I got too much gap on the bottom. I'll just roll it uphill a little bit. Make sure I'm happy. Good to go. So kind of basically I just want to lock it down so I know I'm safe on each side. If your technique isn't strong, then just do this. I remember doing that lots. Just wipe it, check, check. I'm going to try the Kode method where it's like a snow plow. I'm going to come at it at an angle like this and force the mud out that direction. And I don't want to push crazy hard. And then I'll check, okay? I have a little daylight there, lots on the top. I'll just roll that down a bit. And it's just a constant check. Really, that's all it is constant check to make sure you haven't rolled that corner off. Same thing, angle my knife so the mud comes up from behind the bead. Check, 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 check. That's still flush. Wipe a little further. Snow plow action. Don't wipe super hard. Check, check. Adjust if you need to. I'll just push that up a little bit. Should be good. Okay, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. It's sitting true. You won't know if you have enough mud in behind there until you go to coat. You get your first layer of mud on, and then you can see air pockets in behind, and we'll show you. Hopefully we have a few when we do it, and we can show you. I just cut it out, stuff some mud in behind, and then just kind of patch the hole. So we'll show you that when we get there. But yeah, you don't know how well it's set until you know. You don't know till you know.
And this, you just leave this like this now? You don't have to put mud on it again, like the
Right.
angles and flats and stuff?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
leave that. One thing, and I'll probably repeat myself, but what I've found over the years, if you're too fast on your processes, like let's say you set this, the next day you mud, the next day you mud again, sand it, it's all good. What'll happen is this mud hasn't cured enough. It'll always just keep shrinking because it hasn't cured, and you're layering over top. And then over like a month or two down the road, you'll actually see that metal portion in the bead.
Oh, okay.
Because it shrinks back over time. So what I do, and this is a debate, you either let this sit for a day or 2 or 3 and bake the heat, make sure you don't have high humidity, then it'll cure, and then once you coat it, your first coat will be loaded with mud. And if you let that dry for 2 or 3 days, then you could probably get away with it, just a 2-coat system. But if you speed it up, you might have to do a 3rd coat.
Okay.
And there's another debate, I don't know because I don't tape every single day of my life. You could let this sit a day, fill it with a 6-inch knife, let that sit, and then do 2 coats over top as well. So there's a couple of different ways to look at it, but you gotta let it dry or it'll shrink back, and you'll see that bead like 2 months down the road. So yeah.
That's like painting. If you don't let it cure, you're just going to get bubbles in your paint.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
You ready?
I think so.
Okay.
Just get it on.
Just, yeah, smother it on there. I'll coach you if I can. Try to stay out of your way.
Does it have to be?
Like I said, doesn't have to be pretty at the start. Just slather it on there. You probably want to do each side of the angle at a time.
Oh,
Don't matter.
really messy at this mudding part.
And it doesn't have to be super wide. Doesn't have to be super wide either because the bead is only like 1.5 inches. Or
So make it thinner, is what you're saying?
doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be. All I'm saying, doesn't have to be the full 4 inches wide of your knife.
Okay. A newbie always just stroke for stroke.
That's how I learned. Side, whatever you can get on without making a super mess is the way to do it. It's just the tiny sideways action will get you by.
As long as you're not super slow at it.
Yeah. And what's kind of cool is you can see how I do it, see how you do it, and then it gives you a couple different ways to try at home.
And then lightly go over it? Or
Lightly go over, get it relatively the same consistency top to bottom,
Okay.
and then you'll be able to know if you need more mud in certain places. Yeah, that's a good angle. You're fairly flat with your knife.
Yeah, fairly.
Yeah, that's good. Just real light. Yeah, that's...
Oh, I hit the wall there.
Yeah, you'll need a hair more there, but that's okay.
I think I have extra. I know I don't have enough there.
Yeah, with it being pretty fluid, I think you can go a little heavy and it's not going to be a big deal. Repeat myself, but if it was thicker, you'd have to be more, if it was thicker, you'd have to be more careful, but right now, it squishes out of the bead pretty good.
Right here.
Right there, I can see a little drywall.
Oh, on that side.
Mr. Particular over here.
A little bit. But it's
Okay, let's
and then I can
have
put
a look
on.
at that. Sorry. Oh yeah, that looks good.
Okay.
Looks really good. I can hold that for you.
This is the
then-
one where...
Yeah, so
Put it
when you
on?
put it on, we'll just always push it tight to there. So you always just, if you're gonna wipe it out, you always wipe kind of upward just to lock it into that top corner. So yeah, get it on to the corner. Yep. And then, so go like, yeah, push it on. Yep. Yep, exactly. It doesn't have to be super hard, but yeah, that's good. Perfect.
Can we go down the middle part?
So this, you'll have to roll that top corner to match mine with it, so it's super close. But you also need daylight on either side, so it's kind of a massage of what's going to work out the best.
And you can't push down too hard or you'll pull it out of that.
Yeah, yep. And I think that's enough for now. So then same method as I did. Wipe the top both ways, check for light, do it in the middle, do it at the bottom. If you have light on all 6 positions, it's probably square
Okay.
and true, and then you can just start wiping.
Okay.
I'll coach you.
I'm gonna try and get no mud on me.
Ooh.
Ooh. Let me just dent the wall while we're doing this.
I'll just keep hitting it with mud.
On both sides.
Yeah, and then check for light. So you said that side doesn't have much.
Right?
Okay, and this side has lots.
This side has lots.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
And then,
So
so the next thing you gauge, see how it's overhanging a little bit?
Yeah.
Just roll it back. So it matches.
Okay.
Now what I would do is I would wipe it this one this way because we've shoved the tape this way. Give that just one light wipe that way. Kind of just re-locks it in. If you push don't push too hard because it'll either wipe all the mud out or it'll really shift it. Okay, so check for light again. Do you got a little more there?
A little.
Now one thing to keep in mind when
This
we're
one still has a
troweling,
bit.
we'll have a 12-inch trowel, so it'll actually it'll show more gap with a longer trowel. Okay, so do one here, right below our flat. See if we can lock that into position.
Light. Light.
Okay, let me look. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. And if you want to be extra secure, just give it 2 more wipes and then it just kind of locks it in a little heavier. Less likely to move, right? Okay, and then do the bottom. Actually, maybe check out of the bevel. So this is beveled at the very bottom, so just check right here, right above the bevel.
A little bit.
You have lots there. Yeah, wipe again. Check the other, wipe the other side. Yeah, yep. Sorry,
Tons?
I'm getting ahead of myself here.
No, you're good.
I would roll, yeah, check this side again. I think you got to roll it over a bit. Yeah,
This way.
yeah. Double check. Check out of your mud. Just go down a little bit. You got it, yeah. So there's pretty good. Check the other side. Make sure you have about the same. Check a little lower so we can see better. Yeah, it's pretty good. Once this bead will probably, because there's mud in behind there, we're hoping that it'll cure and pull back that corner a little bit. So yeah, now you can just keep
Do
wiping.
This, right?
Now if you want to wipe that method all the way, What I would probably do, just because I'm OCD, I would wipe again in between these,
Oh, okay.
check, do the top, check, and then you could probably just finish it without having to check 2 million times.
Just keep checking.
Just
kind of
check.
as you
Yeah.
wipe on both
Yep.
sides.
Yep. Perfect.
Oops, I touched my bead.
Still happy?
Still happy.
Pretty consistent. Okay. Yeah. Camille will finish that, double check, and then we're happy. And the reason we pre-filled, remember how we pre-filled these flats? That's so they weren't so hollow. And then when you do this step, you don't have a big hollow spot. They're pre-filled a bit, so it's kind of more flat with the wall.
This way takes a little bit.
It takes a little bit. Do you want to try the Kode method?
I could.
You got the right angle, yeah, like the snow plow.
I can't, I just go off the thing when I do it.
And then you can go down, which would probably be easier. So then you'd, yeah, you got her, yep. Yeah, that's a good weight. You didn't push too hard, that was a nice pressure. Nice gap on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure, yeah,
Go down one more
you could
time.
just go like, even just go straight down, because it just make sure you get rid of any high spots. Don't push super hard, no, just light. Like here you got a little bit on the bead, so just wipe. Make sure that we have those corners still matched, which I think they do. Mm-hmm. Let me just adjust it here. Okay. All right. Remember how you asked if we do any more coating on these? Well, I did. We want to do a pre-fill on that outside corner. Okay. So when we trowel, we don't want our trowel to go and fall off of those beads. We can use taping mud as long as we just wipe it fairly tight. And we're just going to float around that corner. Because this is one of the hardest parts to do, is just get those beads to line up perfect. And I'm just going to float ever so lightly, Camille. I'm going to leave that for now. I'm going to leave that, and then same thing with that splice that we did. I'm just going to do a pre-fill. And I'm wiping it this direction, because when we trowel, we're going to go this way. So we don't want it to knock out of place this way. So I'll just give it a nice smooth edge, and just reduces the chance of catching that joint. Not done yet. Just really light. Yeah, so So any corners, intersections you pre-fill, just helps with your troweling later. Let's move on to these offset angles, these 45s. I'm gonna try this no coat and see how it goes. What I like about that is it, like I said, it acts more like a tape.
Okay.
It's like a rigid tape, still has that ridge to ride the trowel on, but a little easier to install. If you're doing like a vaulted ceiling or something, they just make wider versions of this and stronger. So these are just more for stand-ups and simpler areas, but vaults and bay windows, you might have to use the wider stuff. But anyway, yeah, we're just gonna try this rather than those beads, but it's just a preference thing. Okay. I have these pre-measured out. I don't think you guys need to see me do that. I'll just scratch off any, make sure there's no high spots. It's probably good that we pre-filled that with confill, because then this no coat will actually work the way it's supposed to. Nothing new here.
So if you don't have confill, what can you fill it with? Just the mud?
No, the mud takes too long to dry and
Okay.
cure, and then it just delays too much. So the confill
Just
is
get the confill?
yeah, it's chemical cure, and it dries basically in an hour or two, or cures. Whereas mud is, you need air to dry it. It's a little bit different. And yeah, the confill. If you don't want to use the no coat, just use one of those 45-degree paper with metal beads and do it that way.
The one we just used?
The one that I showed at the beginning of the video. All right, now that the mud's on, I'll just get it nice and even. Treat it more like the tape. Nice even coat, not too thick. I probably don't want too much buildup on that outside corner, Camille.
Okay. Like not a lot of mud on that angle there,
Yeah,
or edge?
no droopy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Little thin there, apply a little more. Right, oh no, a little more. Don't want too much buildup. So nice even application. It's all the same consistency. I'll just give this a pre-bend. Man. I think finding that very peak of that corner is going to be the tricky part. I think we just start mudding. I just want to make sure it's not bent too shallow and it's just totally poking out, but I'll know that how much there is when I actually light check it. I'm just gonna, if I push it like that, it'll actually kind of set that corner a bit. In all reality, that actual solid metal bead might be easier for this corner. I'm just gonna give this a wipe, get some mud out from under there. I see the tapers use this stuff all the time, so I wanted to try it, see if we like it or not. Let's do a light check. So see, it's not rolled over that corner. It's just got a nice little gap. The mud should pull that back. Oop. I got a nice little bit of light there. Let's check here. See that? It's nice. If your corner has a bow in it or if it's crooked, you'll probably be able to tell because this will get all wrinkly and kind of weird. I'm just going to give it one more just light wipe and that's it.
Not too hard, just a nice float.
Yeah, because I want nice solid mud in behind. I don't want that hollow. Okay, just like the other bead, we won't know how well that does until it's all dried and we're ready to coat.
Okay.
Camille, you're gonna do this inside angle.
Okay.
Same method. I think there was a couple of chunkies that we saw in there. Maybe just inspect that corner and just scratch into the corner and just get any chunkies off of there.
Oh my goodness. The stool's not even high enough for me.
And if it's too hard to wipe up and down later, hopefully we can do it that way. This method's hard to get consistent, but if you have to, you just have to.
We don't need it thick though, right? Like,
No, we're
doesn't
gonna
need to be
treat it.
wide?
We're gonna treat it more like a tape.
Okay.
So we want a little thinner than that bead that you did. Why don't you get the top half nice and consistent, and then we can move that step out of the way. So you kind of got to find that inside corner. Yeah, tilt away, and then it'll bubble over onto the other side, but that's okay. Yeah, find that corner, tilt. Now try to get your knife to just ride in that very inside corner.
On this one?
Yeah, and just press really light. So I'm just gonna make sure, yeah, it's more of a feel thing. I'm gonna make sure that I can feel that this corner is touching the very intersection, the very inside angle. Now that I have that bubble out, I'm just gonna smear it over a little bit. It's maybe a little too much. And because we pre-filled, this step is also easier now. If it was hollow, we'd be falling in behind. So yeah, if you have to, just kind of smear that big gloopy stuff out of the inside. Okay, you can finish up.
Ooh, corners are tricky.
They definitely are.
Like way trickier than an angle almost.
Way trickier than a 90.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so just make sure that this corner, yeah, so tilt it a little bit, but always make sure that you can feel the wall right there. And then just press lightly. Yeah, you got her. Perfect. Nice. And when you get to the bottom, you notice how your angle's changing, and that's why you're wiping more off at the bottom there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's sometimes better just to from the bottom up.
And this is the same?
Yeah, and then just make sure that corner is always riding against that wall. And then start from the bottom up. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, do the little, so you want to drag this probably this way, and then we just need a little more mud from here to here, and then we're ready to put this bad boy on. I think here is the same, is push this both directions so you know that is locked into the corner.
Okay.
So do that kind of everywhere, top to bottom, make sure it's locked in, then we can just wipe straight up and down. Yeah, so just push that way, push the other way. Doesn't have to be super hard, it just, you kind of lock that and know that you're in the right position. Okay. Yeah, make sure you're right in the corner. Yeah. Can I see? I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah, while you're up there.
Yeah, while I'm up there. Okay. Why don't I wipe this top half? So just wipe it light. Our mud's nice and fluid. And hopefully it didn't overbend the bead too much.
What if you overbent it?
It might, if I overbent it, it might just want to peel away from the wall.
Okay.
So there's a little bit to be cautious about. If I want to, probably want to fill that, if I fill this up a bit more, it's just easier to coat and the shrinkage is more consistent. Yeah, see how that pulled away a little bit? Mm-hmm. And I'm always making sure that my knife is in the corner. Yeah, so you probably want to just get it, wipe it up and down to embed it. If you need to fill it up later, you can.
Okay.
Don't go super hard at the beginning, just go fairly light. Oh yeah, you know what you're doing. And then wipe. If you wipe up and down, then it kind of seems like it embeds it better.
And then right here, we don't have enough mud, or just keep going?
If it's not sticking, yeah, it's a good call.
And this again is probably where you don't want a sharp knife, otherwise it'll rip your...
It's less likely because this stuff has got a lot stronger material.
Okay.
But yeah, you got a point. Let's make sure your knife is nice and flat.
Okay.
Yeah, go one more time. Yeah. Perfect. See that mud moving around in there? Mm-hmm. So that's why it's good to go up and down. Yes, do the other side of the angle, and then we can... Okay. If you're too scared to fill it right up, you don't have to, but it does basically save a whole step.
Okay.
Because you're pre-filling it, it's nice and full, and then it's just less coating later, and it keeps your coating more consistent. All right, if it's all over the place now, when you go to coat, it's gonna dry and shrink all funny. So it's better to have it more consistent. Leaving my future hitchhikers. Yeah,
So it's okay if these don't have mud coming through them?
should be okay, as long as it's not pulling away. And when you fill that back up, it'll squish mud in there and
Okay.
should just embed it a bit better.
You just want me to go down?
Yeah, I would just go up and down. So you can basically get it on there, you know, however you want. I don't care if he goes, well, sideways is dangerous. It's better to just get it on there. Oh yeah, and I'll teach you a trick. When you're wiping, if you actually notice what Camille's doing, she does have the right idea. Typically when you start more outward, and then as you run out of material, you just get flatter, 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 flatter to the wall, and then your knife is dry. You can't wipe consistently at the same angle.
Okay.
So you literally only be like,
Okay.
So just as you go, just keep folding it down flat, and you'll be able to extend it further. It doesn't matter if you got stuff in the inside or stuff on the outside, just
Well, it'll come with time.
it does. Yeah, no, you're doing it. It's awesome.
Do you want me to go over it now?
You can.
And again, just make sure you're staying to that inside.
Yeah, always stay to the inside, and then don't wipe it. Okay.
Oh,
You can always just load up. Once you have some on your knife, you can just load it up again.
no. On what?
Just fill that little bit, and just
Oh,
fill
I
that
see.
and fill that.
Like this area?
Yeah.
It's kind of harder to go up
It's different.
from the bottom. It would take somebody years to be master this.
It would be. Yep. That's why it's an art. And that's why if you're doing it yourself, you can, if you have the time and the patience. Mm-hmm. And we're just trying to teach people how to do it a little bit faster.
Oh, so you get somebody
yeah,
super
cut.
slow like me to get.
Well, you got to cut that learning curve down, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Okay, and then go over it lightly.
Yeah, just go over to even it all out. And it is good to wipe it fairly tight because this is taping mud.
Okay.
And it's okay to use taping mud, but you do not want it proud because it's real bugger to try to grind off later or sand off.
Cheese grate.
Cheese grater.
Oh, see?
See?
Look what I did. I wrecked my work.
Yep. Good lesson.
Good lesson. Let Kode clean up the edges. Right?
You just got to wipe. Yeah, I'll show you. What I do is slightly different. I'm just a little more careful about it. There you go. Yeah, exactly. One more wipe on both, and then we'll clean up the excess. See, you got the right hang of it because you got that inside edge perfectly. You're not skipping out of the corner all the time.
That's good.
All right, so when you do this, when you wipe this off, you just gotta just stay on the edge,
Okay.
right? You're not digging your work out. You just staying on the edge, nice and careful. Clean up that, and I have to actually press my top stuff in a bit better because I didn't do a good enough job.
Oh man.
Camille was wondering about a couple of these hollow spots. They're fine. If you're too worried about wrecking more work to try to fill a couple little imperfections, it's probably better to just err on the side of caution. I'm just gonna fill this up, and I gotta wipe mine. I'm gonna keep an eye on this no coat because I did overbend it slightly. So I'll just keep my eye on it, and I'm gonna just wipe it a few more times, make sure it stays embedded.
And overbending it makes it just kind of want to peel away from the corner, right?
Yeah, there's too much tension on it now, so it's wanting to pull away from the corner.
Those pro wipes.
Yeah, not bad. Any material on the inside corner, remember when it dries, we'll just hit it sideways and it'll knock it off nice and clean. Your work looks great. I'm only going over it just to make sure it's embedded. Notice how the mud's not changing, so you did it perfectly, right?
Okay. You can't use those on, or these on the, just the beads?
On the 90s?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't, no.
So these are just 45, that's specifically for 90?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even this, we'll see how this works out when we go to coat it. But yeah, if you're unsure, just use a solid one on the outside. But the inside I know will be good.
Okay.
Yeah. And then with the inside, we should be able to get away with one coat of the 6-inch knife. Bang, done.
Okay.
Right? Whereas these might need 2 coats.
Okay.
All right, let's do one more step, the tearaway.
Okay.
So this tearaway we're gonna do, PVC beads are a little harder and trickier. A lot of guys will use contact cement. We do a little bit of a custom method because contact cement usually spray this side, the other side, and then cement them together, and then they're stuck forever. But this little trick allows me, I don't have to protect my nice wood wall over there, my fake wood wall, right? I'm just gonna spray the bead and let it set up so it's a little bit gooey still and almost tacky, and then I'll just slide it into position.
Okay.
And then once it dries up, it should hold itself, and then we'll still coat it with mud.
Okay.
So I'll spray it, and you're gonna put it in and mud it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna make sure that I'm gonna put it in the proper way. So I gotta make sure, okay, it's gonna go in like this, so I need to spray the back side. Make sure when you're spraying contact cement that you're not doing it on a finished floor or anywhere in a finished house. And that's why I don't wanna spray against my finished wood wall. Okay, let's hope. I'm gonna hit it a little heavy, and I'm hitting it at an angle so I don't get it on the back side of the tearaway. I don't know how long to wait, but I'll just wait long enough. Oh, it's already sticky. Let's put it on.
Okay.
Okay. Don't have much time. Yeah, just make sure you're about that same distance off the floor. I'll just make sure you're good down here because we don't have much time. So just tuck it in. Use the knife if you don't want to get your fingers dirty. And just press it on. Okay, let's see that. Yes, make sure, yeah, as long as this is pushed up against our finished wall, which it is, and it's stuck on there, it's not falling away, so it's held well enough. Now we can coat it, and then the actual taping mud will adhere it.
Okay.
This is just kind of the initial tack so that the PVC stays on the wall.
And we're only just mudding this side.
Yeah, so when you mud, you're gonna mud on top of this little
angle it.
tab. We're gonna try not to get wood or mud on our wood wall.
Okay.
So we're just gonna be a little more conservative. Boom. Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Yeah, and just careful not to push too hard because we don't know how well that contact cement is holding. And this one you'll want enough mud so that it's full all the way. So you want it like 4 inches wide. Yeah, perfect.
I'm trying to be overly cautious not to get your wood wall.
Our hypothetical wood wall.
Yeah. Oh my dear Lord, I got it.
If it was real life, you would definitely be more cautious. You might as well finish that top and then we can ditch this step. Good technique though, man.
And do you just want me to go down?
Yeah, so just ride your knife right into the corner. Yep. If it's getting too full, just pull it away. Yep. Do it again. It's okay to wipe a little tight because this is...
Am I going on top of this little lip
yes.
here or against it?
Yep, on top of it in the inside corner. Yep. And that little lip allows the mud to cover those holes in the PVC.
Okay.
Perfect. Keep going, my friend.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, man, your application is really good. Yeah, just go a little wider. Perfect.
Let me just cover this wood wall here with mud.
And I like to just, this can of contact cement is actually really good. Some spray super wide. And I'm always just cautious because I don't want to spray contact cement all over the wall because then it might not, I definitely can't hide it if I go wider than what I'm coating.
Okay.
So that's why I was cautious and just sprayed the one side.
Oh my goodness. I would be fired as I got mud all over your wood wall.
Wood's not too bad. It's more, and even a commercial window doesn't matter as much, but if it was rock or brick, then it would be tricky.
Oh, then it wouldn't come off.
You could do it against brick. You couldn't do it against rock, but...
Because it would just stick to it.
Well, rock is too jaggedy, whereas brick is fairly straight. So you could use a tearaway against brick, but rock is just too much in and out.
Did I go too hard on that one?
Nope, it's taping mud, so we want it
Fairly tight.
fairly tight, yeah.
Do you want me to go again?
I don't know, I think you did pretty good.
Okay, is that good
Can you
then?
look?
This one's just showing more as opposed to up here.
Right. And I know you got some overhangies, just let those dry because we can just chip those off before we do the next coat.
Okay.
Yeah, just give it one more as high as you can, just to be safe. Make sure it's wiped tight. Doesn't hurt. As it builds up, just stop. Yeah, and wipe it. Because it's billowing over onto the back side of the knife, and that's, yeah. Awesome.
All right.
Done beads.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, good job.
Thank you.
So that concludes video 5 of 10. Wasn't too bad, eh?
Wasn't too bad, no.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be as bad as the angles, and it wasn't. It was really good.
And your hoodie looks perfect.
Yeah, I love it.
Little
Thank
speck
you.
on there, so yeah. Awesome. Well, that concludes that. Now the next step, video 6, we're going to start coating the butt joints, and then it gets fun.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thanks for tuning in.